Welcome to my channel. Today I have a special video for you guys. Do you want to implement advanced and high-performance UiPath projects? Then this video is for you. You will get to know the LINQ queries in UiPath better. What LINQ queries are and what you can do with them. Please see the video to the end and let me know if you have any questions, additions or requests. Lisa will join me in this video and ask questions if something is unclear to her. Hello Lisa. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Hello Mahmoud. Thank you for having me. I'm Lisa and I work as an RPA developer. I'm really excited to see what we're going to discuss in this video today.
Thank you Lisa for the briefly introduction. Are you ready to start?
Sure.
Okay, let's go. I have the following points on my agenda. What is LINQ and what parts is a LINQ query consists of? LINQ queries for objects, data tables, XML string. And at the end I will explain some advanced functions in LINQ, which make your project more efficient. Let's start. LINQ is an abbreviation for Language Integrated Query. It is a powerful language extension for evaluating data volumes. The data volumes come from different sources, such as data tables, objects, XML files, etc. I will now explain the different parts of a LINQ query. LINQ consists of 6 parts. I will explain each one of these parts. Lisa, you can summarize what you understood after each part. Is it okay for you?
Okay, I will try to do it.
The parts are as follows. Bracket at the beginning and at the end. Within these brackets we have the other 4 parts. The first part is from statement. With this statement we can get the data from the data source. To do that, we need to define a variable, then we set the preposition in, and then we write the name of the data source, from which we will read the data. For example, we have a data table and we want to get the rows from this data table, so we define row variable. Then we write the preposition in and then we write the name of this data table. Okay Lisa, can you please summarize what you can do with the from statement?
As I understand it, with this statement, we can define the data source, from which we want to get the data later. And for this data source, we have to define what you want to get from this source. Whether it is a row, just a value of a cell, a complete column or something else.
Yes, exactly. So the first part is to get the entire data. Let's move to the next part. In this part we can use a function, like group, join, order, etc. With this part we can prepare the data, which we got from the data source, before we continue with the next parts. For example, we want to group the rows of a data table using the city column. We can do that in this part. Okay Lisa, it's your turn now.
Okay, so in this line we can prepare the data that we have fetched from the data source, so that we only look at this data, and not the entire data source. For example, we group the rows based on a column in a data table. Then we can later get the data from this grouped data.
Exactly right. Very well explained. So this part is to prepare the data. Let's move to the next part. Where, or let statement. With this statement we can set a condition to mark the data, which we need to select later. Or with let statement, we can also define a new variable to get the data from the data source with some calculations. For example, I need to mark all rows of the data table, where the name of an employee is Max. So this part is to mark the data, which we want to get as output later. The last part in the brackets is select statement. After we define the variable in the data source, and set the condition, we can here select the data, which we need to get as output. For example, I need to get all rows of the data table, where the name is Max. So this part is to select the data, to get them as output. Lisa, would you like to explain the where and select statements?
Yeah, sure. With the where statement we mark the desired data. Then with the select statement, we get the data that we have selected.
Very good. One last thing, after brackets we can set a function to convert the output to a certain data type. For example, I want to get the output as a data table, so I can add the function, copy to data table. Lisa, can you please tell me what we use the function after the brackets for?
To change the data we got into a specific data type.
Exactly. So this part is to convert the output. One more thing, from these 6 parts, only 2 are necessary. All others can be used, but do not have to be. These parts are from and select statements. These must always be set. Do you have any questions?
Currently not, but I'm still not exactly sure how I can use the LINQ queries. Do you want to explain that?
Don't worry. I will show you a few examples of how to build a LINQ query.
Okay, thanks.
I will start with the first example. We have an array. This consists of 10 numbers. From 1 to 10. We want to get all numbers from this array that meet the following condition. number modulo 2 equals 0. That means, we have to check each number in this array, if it fulfills this condition. For example, we start with the first number, it is number 1. 1 modulo 2 is equal to 1. So this number doesn't fulfill the condition, therefore this number should not be in the output. Let's try the next number. It is 2. 2 modulo 2 is equal to 0. So this number should be in the output. And so on we do for all the numbers in the array. We want the output as an array. I will fill in the different parts step by step. As already mentioned, we put a bracket at the beginning and a bracket at the end. Then we write the first statement, from. We want to check every number in this array, so we create a variable for each number. I call it num. This variable gets the contents of the array, so I write in and then the name of the array. It is numbers array. So the first statement is ready. The next statement, we don't need any grouping or anything like that, so we leave it blank and continue with the next statement. Where statement, here we set the condition. As already described in the task, we want to get all numbers, which meet the following condition, num modulo 2 equals 0. The last statement is, select. Here we select the number that fulfills the condition in the where statement. As mentioned in the task, the output should be an array, so we set the function, toArray. Using this function, the numbers that come from the LINQ query are stored in an array. So the query is ready. I will write this query again in UiPath directly, so that you better understand how to do it there. I create an array variable and set the default values as described in the task. These are the numbers from 1 to 10. I create another variable for the output. This is also of the type array. Make sure you have the import, system.link. If you don't have it, you can import it as follows. Add an assign activity. On the left side we set the output variable, where the data should be saved. On the right side we write the LINQ query. I will write it exactly as I explained before. So the query is ready and we have no errors. I'm going to add for each loop, to output the contents of the output array to the console, so you can see what we got as output from this query. Set the type argument equal to integer. Add a write line activity. Write item and then to string, because this variable is an integer, and cannot be written as an integer in the console. I will run the code now. As you can see, we have the following numbers as output. Only these numbers meet the condition mentioned in the task. That means, each of these numbers can be divided by 2, without rest. So the first example is finished. Lisa, do you have any questions about this example?
No, you have already explained everything in detail. But I have another question. How can I get the count of numbers in the output array? I mean, I don't want to have the numbers as an output array. I just want the count as output. For example, In this task I should get count 5 as output, because there are 5 numbers in the output array that have fulfilled the condition.
This is quite easy. As I already mentioned, the function after the bracket at the end indicates how the output should be. In our example we wanted the output as an array, so we added the toArray function. But now we want the output as a count, so we do the following. I copy and paste the assign activity. I am creating an integer variable, so that I can store the output in this variable. Now I set the variable in the new assign activity. And now I'm going to edit the query. Instead of the toArray function, I will use the count function. With this function the items of the output array are counted, and I only get the count as output. I will add a writeLine activity to print the number in the console. I will delete the loop, because we don't need it anymore. I will run the code. You can see, we have the number 5. But we can also get this number in another way. We can leave the old query as we did at the beginning. I will delete the new query. I will add an assign activity. Set the integer variable. Here set the output array.count. With this activity, we get the same result as we did with the second query. I will run the code again. As you can see, we have the same number. Is that what you wanted?
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. The first example was about an object, like an array. Now I'm going to explain another example, where I'm going to create a query on a data table. We have a small table that has 2 columns. These columns are name and count. We want to create a query, where we get all rows as output, where the content of column count equals 2. This means that we should only get 3 rows as output, because the count column is equal to 2 only in 3 rows. I would like to have the output as a data table. So let's start writing the query. I will first add the brackets. Then we write the statement, from. We want to look at all the rows in the data table, so we create a variable for the rows. I call this variable as row. Then we write in, and then the name of the data table. Then we come to the next statement. We don't need any preparation for the data here, so we leave this statement blank. The next statement is where. Here we write the condition. So we write the following. We use the variable and write the name of the column in which we want to search. In this case it is the column count. We want to check that the content is equal to 2, so we write 2. But since the content is not known whether it is a string, an integer or something else, we set int at the beginning to convert the content into an integer. The condition is ready. The last statement is select. We now want to select the rows that meet the condition, so we select the row variable. At the end after the bracket I set the function, copy to data table, to get the output as a data table. The query is ready. Let's write this query in UiPath. I have a build data table activity here, where I created the data table before. You can see here that the data table has 2 columns. The content is the same as I showed you before. This data table is called Excel_DT. I create another data table variable for the output. Add an assign activity. I will write the query as I wrote before. I'm done, and we have no errors. Add for each row activity, to print the content of the output data table in the console. Add a write line activity. I will print the contents of each column and row in the console. For this I write the following. I will run the code now. As you can see, we only have 3 rows as output. You can also see that the count is 2 in all rows. Lisa, do you have any questions about this example?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Let's go ahead with the last example. It's about XML string. We have the following XML string. This consists of the following elements: customers list and customer. Each customer element has 3 elements: name, old, and address. We want to get the name of the customer, where the ID is equal to 1. ID is an attribute for the customer element. Name of this attribute is ID, and the value for this attribute is 1. I will write the query directly in UiPath, as I did in the last 2 examples. I will explain the query in UiPath. First I will create the variables, which I need for the sequence. We need a variable for the XML string. This is of type X document. Search for the type as follows. We need another variable for the output. This is of type I enumerable of X element. Search for this type as follows. I have the XML string in this document. We will read the XML string from this document, therefore copy the path of this document. Let's start adding the activities. Add an assign activity to read the XML string first. We can do that with the following statement. Then add another assign activity to write the query. As I mentioned before, we first add 2 brackets. And then the statement from. We create a variable L, then we add the preposition in, and then we write the name of the data source. It is xdoc. But here we have to define which element we need from the XML string. So I have to write the function elements and then the name of the element. We have to write the parent element. It is customers list. And then we write the function elements again and then the name of the next element. It is customer. With this statement we will go through all customer elements. This statement is ready. Let's continue with the next statement. We don't need any data preparation, therefore we continue with the where statement. As mentioned in the task, we need to get the name of the customer, where the attribute ID is equal to 1. So we set this condition here. Then we move on to the next statement. Select. Here we need to get the element as output, but we only need the name element. Therefore we write the function elements, and then the name of this element. It is name. The query is now ready. Let's explain the query again. We go through the customer's list elements, then through the customer elements. For these elements we check the ID if it is equal to 1. In this case we get the name element. Let's add for each loop to print the output to the console. Change the argument type to X element. Add a write line activity. We want to get the value of the element name, therefore we write the variable .value. I will run the code now. As you can see, we have this value as output. It is exactly what we wanted. Lisa, do you have any questions?
I understood the example very well, thank you. But I want to know if there is a way to go directly to the customer element without writing the parent elements. In this example we only have one parent element, but if we have 10 parent elements for example, it will be too much. Is there any way to do that?
Okay Lisa, you mean you want to have a function to get all parent elements for the customer element, without writing the parent elements? Yes, there is a function to do that. It is the function descendants. I will show you how to do that in UiPath. I will edit the query. First I will delete the elements functions, then I will write the new function. Then I will write the element, which I want to have. It is customer element. Let's run the code again to see the result. As you can see, we have the same result. Is that what you wanted?
Exactly, thank you. I have another question. Do you have a video about XML structure and functions? Because I don't have experience with XML and it would be great to learn it, so that I can use LINQ queries more efficient.
Actually not, but I will create a video about XML structure, and how to use these functions in UiPath.
It would be great, thank you.
Now I will show you the most used functions in LINQ. These are group, order, and join. I will explain these functions using examples on data tables. For group function I will show you an example, how to group a data table using one column. This helps us to get the unique rows from a data table for example. For order function I will show you an example, how to sort a data table using one column. The sort can be ascending or descending. For the join function I will show you an example, how to join or merge two data tables using one column. Are you ready, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let's start with the group function. I have here a data table, which consists of two columns, city and zip code. In this table we have 7 rows. I want to group the rows using the city column. After grouping the data table I want to get the unique rows only. That means, I should get as result this table. For example, I have the city, Berlin, 2 times. This should appears only once in the output table. The zip code is not the same in the both rows, but it's not matter, because we only want to look for the data in the city column. This is our example for the group function. But before we continue with writing the LINQ query, I will show you what parts is a group function consists of. Group function consists of 5 parts. These are as follows. The first, third, and fifth part are always the same. That means, we have to write them without changing anything. The second part is the variable. This is the variable, which we defined in the from statement. For example, we have this from statement, and we define the variable row in it. So we take this variable and set it in the function. The fourth part is the condition, on which column we want to group. So the statement looks like this at the end. Let's switch to UiPath to write the query there. To make it easier to understand, I have the table in Excel. It's in sheet 1. Copy the path of the Excel file to use it in UiPath. Add read range activity to read the table from Excel. Add the path here. Delete the range to read the entire sheet. Create a variable for this data table. Create another variable for the output data table. Add an assign activity to write the query. We write first the brackets. Then we write the statement, from. Then we set the group function as I mentioned before. Then I will write the select statement. We want to get the unique rows only, therefore I will write the group variable dot first, to get the unique rows only. After the brackets I write the function, copy to data table, to get the output as data table. The query is ready. I will add write range activity to write the output table in Excel. I will write the table in sheet 2. Check the option, Add Headers, to write the column names in Excel. Now I will run the code. As you can see, we have a new sheet. And we have our table, which consists of only 5 rows. It is the same as I mentioned before. We have each city only once. Lisa, it's your turn. Do you have any questions?
Yes. My question is, should we write the column name, or can we write the column index instead of the name?
No, you don't have to write the name. You can use the column index. In my example is the city column in the first position, so I can write 0 instead of the name. Let's run the code again to see the result. As you can see, we have the same result. Lisa, do you have another questions?
Yes, I have a question. Can I group the table using more than one column?
Yes, you can do that also. For this you have to do the following. I will first change the index to name to make it easy for you to know which column I use. I will write a comma, then a new function, b for example. Here I will write the same like a, but I will use the second column. With this function we will get the unique rows using these 2 columns. I will run the code again. As you can see, we have now 6 rows, because the city, Berlin, appears 2 times, but with different zip code. Lisa, do you have another questions?
One last question. If we have where statement in the query, Where should we set the group function?
You have to set the group function before the where statement. Now let's continue with the next function, order. We use this function to sort a data set. We have the same table and we want to sort the table using one column. Let's sort using the column, city. We can sort ascending or descending. The table looks like this if we sort ascending. Before we write the query in UiPath, let's see the function. Order function consists of 3 parts. The first part is always the same. The second part has the variable, which we defined in the from statement. After the variable we set the column name. And the last part is the art of order. That means, here we set ascending to sort from A to Z, or we set descending to sort from Z to A. The function looks like this later. Let's switch to UiPath to write the query there. We have the table in Excel. The table is in sheet 1. Let's copy the path of the Excel file to use it in UiPath later. Add read range activity to read the table. Set the Excel path. Delete the range to read the entire sheet. Create a variable. Create another variable for the output table. Add assign activity to write the query. First we add the brackets. Then we write the statement, from. Then we write the order function, as I showed you before. I will use the ascending method. It means, sort from A to Z. After that we write the select statement. At the end we add the function, copy to data table, to get the output as data table. Add write range activity to write the table in Excel. Add the same path here. Write the sheet name. Add the table variable. Check Add headers to write the column headers in Excel. Now I will run the code. As you can see, we have a new sheet. The table is sorted ascending. Let's change to code to sort the table descending. Write a new sheet name. I will now run the code. As you can see, we have a new sheet. The table is sorted descending. But we can also sort the table using more than one column. Let's change the code to sort the table using the both columns. We do this as follows. As you can see, you can set the sort method for each column separated. I will set the both column descending. Write a new sheet name. I will run the code again. As you can see, we have a new sheet. And you can see that the table is now sorted using the both columns. Lisa, do you have any questions about order function?
I have only one question. We have in this query no where statement. But if we have where statement, where should we set the order function?
Lisa, you have to set the function before the select statement. It means, the function will be between where and select statements.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Let's continue with the last function, join. This function helps us to merge two data tables together. First I will explain the join types. We have two types, inner and outer. Let's start with inner join. We have two sets, A and B. And we have the following numbers for example. Inner join means that we only get the numbers, which are in set A and also in set B. In this example we get only the numbers 3 and 6. Let's continue with the outer join. Outer join has three types. Left outer, right outer, and full outer. Left outer means that we get the numbers, which are in A and in B, but also the numbers, which are only in A. In this example we get the following numbers, 1, 2, 3, 6. Right outer means that we get the numbers, which are in A and in B, but also the numbers, which are only in B. In this example we get the following numbers 3, 4, 5, 6. Full outer means that we get the numbers which are in A or in B. In this example we get all numbers from 1 to 6. In this video I will explain only the inner join because it is the easiest one and also the most used one. All other join types I will explain in other videos. Now let's see what the inner join query looks like. Inner join query consists of 6 parts. The first and last parts are the same, brackets. Within these brackets we have the other 4 parts. The first part is from. Here we define a variable for the first data table, then we write the preposition in, then the name of the first data table. The next part is join. Here we define another variable for the second data table, then we write the preposition in, then the name of the second data table. The next part is on. This is similar to where statement. That means, we set here the condition for join, how we want to join the tables. After on we set the variable from the first data table, and then in brackets the column name or the column index. After that we set the function, to string. Then we set equals function. And then we set the variable from the second table, then the column name and also the function, to string. This statement means, that we check the content of the column from the first table with the content of the column from the second table, if they are the same. The last part is, select. Here we want to select the data to get the output. First we write the output table, then the function rows, and then the function add. In the brackets we set then the columns, which we need to get as output. We can select different columns from different tables. For example we can get 2 columns from the first table and 1 column from the second table. At the end after the brackets we set the function, copy to data table, to convert the output to data table. Let's see this example to join 2 tables. We have here 2 tables, DT1 and DT2. In each table we have 2 columns. We have the column, city ID in both tables. This is the key column, which can we use to join the both tables. We want to join the tables to get the following output table. The output table has 3 columns, the city ID, the city name from the first table, and the zip code from the second table. As I mentioned before, we define a variable for each table. For example A and B. We set the condition for the column city ID. So we take the variable from the first table with the column name, and the variable from the second table with the column name. After the condition we set the select statement. As I mentioned before, we set the output table and the functions, rows and add. Then we select the columns from the tables, which we want to have in the output table. So we select the city ID and the city name from the first table, and we select the zip column from the second table. Now I switch to UiPath to show you How to write this query in UiPath. I have the tables in Excel. We have here sheet 1. You can see the first table. Here is the sheet 2. You can also see the second table. And here is the sheet 3, which is empty. Here we want to write the join table. Let's copy the Excel path to use it in UiPath. Add read range activity to read the first table. Add the Excel path. Delete the range to read the entire sheet. Create a variable for the first table. Add another read range activity. Add the Excel path. Change the sheet name to sheet 2. Delete the range to read the entire sheet. Create a variable for the second table. Create another variable for the output table. This is of type data table. Now we have to add build data table activity to build the output table. Create the columns as follows. Add an assign activity to write the query. Let's explain the query again. We take a variable from the first table and another variable from the second table. We set the condition here to check if the city ID from the first table is equal to the city ID from the second table. After that, we want to save the data in the output table. Here we take the columns city ID and city name from the first table and the zip code from the second table. After that, we added the function copy to data table to convert the output to data table. So the query is ready. Let's add write range activity to write the output table in Excel. Add the Excel path. Change the sheet name to Sheet 3. Add the output table variable. Check the option Add headers to write the column headers in Excel. Now the code is ready. Let's run the code. As you can see, we have the table in Sheet 3. We have 3 columns: city ID and city name from the first table, and zip code from the second table. Lisa, do you have any questions about join function?
I have only one question. Should we write the column headers in build data table activity exactly the same as in the tables, or can we set another name? For example, instead of city ID, can we write only ID?
No, you don't have to write the same column headers. You can use the name as you like. But it is more clear if we have the same name.
Okay, thank you. Thank you also for the very helpful video. I am very excited to watch your next videos.
Thank you, Lisa. I hope you could learn the LINQ queries better now. If you have any questions, please write me a comment and I will answer the questions as soon as possible. If you like my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and share. Have a nice day.